Good evening and welcome to From the 80s View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. Today's guest on this show is Dr. Timothy Felton.
Evening, Doc.
Dr. Felton,
Evening.
mentoring young men is something that you do. Give me a brief synopsis about that.
For me, like I said, it pretty much started once I graduated, where I started mentoring through coaching as well as mentoring juveniles here in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yes, sir. And you are an author. The
Yes, sir.
journey to becoming an author is what? What would you say about that?
I think it's really satisfying. Also, like I said, it's a goal and a dream that I set out to accomplish back in high school doing journalism classes.
And the benefits of coaching youth sports would be what?
I think it's a sense of belonging for those young men that together teamwork.
These and more topics on From the 80s View. Let's get it. Welcome back. Before we bring back our guest, I'd like to give honor to God who's ahead of my life because none of the things that I do would be possible. Not as a father, not as a husband, not as a professional. And he's blessed me over the last month or so to be able to launch my new brand, which is Favored, a faith based brand that deals with hope and new beginnings. And you'll hear more about that on different shows that we'll have on From the 80s View. Now let's bring back our special guest, Dr. Timothy Felton. Dr. Felton is a former coach at Vienna High School in St. Louis, Missouri, former case manager for St. Louis County, former trio program manager at SLU University, former assistant coach and professor at Missouri Baptist University, and currently sits as the dean of students for Ferguson Florissant School District. A brother from a different mother, Dr. Timothy Felton. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Said. Good evening.
Good evening, man. Good evening. As we were talking before the show, Doc, one of the things that you and I were drawn together in is the philanthropic work that you and your wife do with mentoring young Black men. Can you tell our audience a little bit about that, our viewers a little bit about what you and your wife do?
Yes, like I said, we established the Youth Exposure Sports Foundation back in 2005. And from that time, like I said, we pretty much do a little mentoring between student athletes and just kind of making sure that the goal was to mentor them through making sure they have a balance between academics, athletics, and life after athletics. My wife Athena also does a lot of community work with Boys and Girls Club and other organizations through her own organization, which she works for. But like I said, we pretty much love um, mentoring not only student athletes but just youth in general.
And that's the one thing that you and I, Dr. Felton, that was the one thing that you and I that kind of brought us together. And with two of our other colleagues, that Dr. Anderson, that we talk to a lot, and he's a part of. And we're going to get to it. He's a part of your book that that you just came out with, and we also partner with our brother of a different mother, and I'll let you talk a little bit about that because you brought him into the fold. So I'll let you kind of introduce that and talk about that.
Yes, like I said, me and Bodine Sanders actually connected through LinkedIn, and we started working together and kind of building a relationship and friendship through there. And our goal was to start going out doing some motivational speaking for uh, high schools and colleges to student athletes. I think he had reached out to you um, via
Yes, sir.
email,
Yes,
and
sir.
like I said, we ended up connected through LinkedIn as well through a post that I had uh, posted on my link, and we connected um, shortly after that. And then once we spoke, uh, I reiterated that Bodine Sanders had reached out to me, but like I
Absolutely.
said, Dr. said is a busy man, and this past year we said he's our 2024 president candidate because he's always on the road doing wonderful things in athletics. But yeah, so we kind of connected through LinkedIn, both of us. So
We
like I
did.
said, we formed, and you, like I said, end up bringing in Dr. AJ, and like, we kind of formed the Kings of Sports,
The Kings of
kind of offered
Sports.
the phase of the Kings of Comedy, but the Kings of Sports to go out to, you know, just share our message through sports, athletic coaching, and our careers to young men and women throughout the United States.
Yes, sir. And finding out that as we were trying to get that launched before the summer started, finding out that schedules sometimes don't always align. So our big push will be to get things coordinated in the spring so that we can hit the ground running in the summer. Because I know that as we have things going already, then we can fit those things into our schedule. So stay tuned for that. The Kings of Sports coming to a city near you for great mentoring conversations, little fun and antics because we all are a bunch of wannabe comedians, as to say, and Dr. Felton is probably the funniest. But Dr. Felton, we talked about we're gonna get into your book a little bit later in the show, but mentoring young black men. Obviously the captain obvious thing is one, you are a young black man. You grew up, around individuals that wanted to mentor you and things like that. But what drives you? What's the driving force for you to mentor young men that look like you, Dr. Felton?
For me, it's basically to help young men develop a sense of identity, a meaning beyond um, just the game of sports, if we talk about student athletes, but youth in general, and also to help them, like I said, with to build confidence, along with teamwork, personal development, and that can be done, like I said, outside the realms of athletics. So those, my passions and purpose, is youth, students, and sports, and so I pretty much came through the mentoring sector with coaches. Like I said, I went on to work at the Division of Recreation with youth, Division of Youth Service Group Homes. I was a juvenile officer. That's where I met my co-author, Taryn Coleman, uh, at the family court. Went the barber school, coaching, worked with GED students, served, like I say, as an advisor, like you say, you mentioned earlier, working at St. Louis University in the Upper Bound program, and currently now the dean of students. I was a team director at our former church. So for me, that passion and purpose of working with youth, but just in different aspects. And like I said, that drive pretty much came through my passion and purpose that God gave me, along with, like I said, deciding that, man, I want to work with youth and student athletes throughout my life. And when you have that passion and purpose, it's really not a job. It's something I enjoy getting up, going to work, and just kind of giving back to those like my coaches gave to me when I was coming up through the little league ranks, high school ranks, and as well as the collegiate level.
Absolutely, and you and your wife are doing a tremendous job there in St. Louis because we were in the same, uh, we were in the same book. Knowing different people, we just weren't on the same page, and then we finally got on the same page. And now that there's individuals that we collectively know together, they talk great about what you and your wife are doing in the community of St. Louis. So, bro, I thank you for all of that, what you and your wife are doing. And you all are out in the community. You do things in the community. I know your wife, she loves to go to nice restaurants, and you guys go to concerts and things like that. So you spend your dollars in the community. So you are really a, what I would call, a power couple. And I appreciate the both of you. But Dr. Felton, do me a favor, man. Stay with me, because we have a lot to talk about. This brand new book is a powerful book that you and Brother Coleman wrote, and you were allowed me to be a part of that, and I do appreciate. We're going to talk about that, but I got to take a break, right? We got to pay the bills. You're watching From the 80s View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. We will be right back after this break.
Renting is everything. It's style at your doorstep, off the runway and into your closet. It's every trend you've been dying to try, and every designer you've yet to discover. It's wearing it your way every time and making it count everywhere you go. It's never worrying about what to wear, because something new is always coming your way. That's why renting is everything. New styles, top designers, all for a flat monthly fee. Start your subscription at renttherunway.com.
Slow roasted over hickory fire and pulled by hand. This is the way pit pork has always been done. Pulled pork lovers, rejoice. The smoky old days are back at the Smoke Shack. From the creative team that brought you the Browning Project and Dead by Morning comes a new thriller that will change the way you look at white-collar crime forever. Fallen from the Sky.
Water. It's everywhere. We drink it, we bathe with it, we cook with it. Coffee's made with water. Toilets won't flush without it. It's used for washing clothes, dishes, utensils, pots, pans, floors, and our teeth. Plants and crops need water, animals drink it, and fish need it too. And don't forget, we can have a lot of fun in the water. Water. What would we do without it?
Welcome back to the show. You're watching From the 80s View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. Before we get back to our guest, I'd like to talk to you about my book, which is how Black men overcome racial barriers in the status quo in NCAA institutions. It's a narrative inquiry. I wrote the book because I was going through a process at the time of trying to ascend to my eventual goal is to be a Power 5 AD. And there were a few hiccups that I had along the way. Some of them probably perceived, some of them real, but I wanted to do the research to find out what the influences were to make men successful that look like me, that rose to one of those 65 jobs in intercollegiate athletics. And what I found was in the research, the themes were threefold. You had the benefits of a role model, having someone that looked over you and had someone that gave you guidance, the expectations of that role model, what they expected from you, and the things, the task that they gave you to go through to get to your goal. And then finally, like I said before, perceived or real barriers that may have been racial that you overcame, but you overcame them through a positive manner. My book can be purchased at Amazon.com I would love for you to support me and going to get that book and read it. It's a really easy read. There are some research terms and some thoughts about it, but there's some real life testimonies in that book of the young men that I spoke to about their journeys on how they became successful and the influences that helped them. If you'd like to see more past episodes of From the 80s View, you can go to cedricandbrown.org. If you'd like to see the services that I provide, mentoring, public speaking, talking about NIL, that's a big thing right now in collegiate athletics, or college eligibility, those things, you can go to cedricandbrown.org. And then finally, if you'd like to be a guest on From the 80s View, go there and email me, cedricandbrown.org. You can email me on that site to connect, and I'd love to have your points of view on the show. From the 80s View is Sunday evening. It appears Sunday evening at 6:40 Central, 7:40 Eastern, for more open and honest discussions on things like sports, education, family, faith, and entertainment. But let's bring back our guest, Dr. Timothy Felton. Dr. Felton, speaking of books, my brother, and they're going to show it, but I'm going to show it too because I have it. You sent me my copy of this book, Black Boys Matter, by you and then brother Terrence Coleman, that also helped you in writing the book. I think, and I know you, better than our viewers do, but you're an amazing author, Dr. Felton, and we will keep flashing it up here a little bit so that they can get that QR code. But Dr. Felton, I want to talk to you a little bit about the book. What was the inspiration for the book? What was your inspiring um, cognitive thoughts about putting the book together?
They just started with a conversation with, like I said, a co-author, Karen Coleman. Like I said, we both work together in the family court system, the law enforcement. And like I said, being co-workers in law enforcement, we both experience and work with a lot of black male youth, black young boys in this system. We also worked, like I said, in group homes before we got into the law enforcement system. And so just kind of sitting down with him, talking about some of the things that's been going on in today's society with our young black boys in the community. This kind of inspired us to put together some of our thoughts, some of our experiences, some of the stories that we also share within the book about a lot of the young black boys and kind of why they matter. I also had a friend, Juan Barnes. He's also a contributing writer within the book. He asked the question, why did we ever get to the point where we have to matter? Which I thought was impelling uh, thought, that came about and question that he had proposed. And like I said, really had to think about it. But if you get the book, his page is in there, and I think he pretty much shares and breaks it down from his perspective. But it's pretty much inspired by, like I said, me and Terrence is sitting down, and we talk probably 2-3 times a week about different topics and things that's going on in the world and society. But just working with young black males and, like I said, seeing them, mentoring them, watching them succeed, and on the sad side of it, watching some of them not succeed and go through the prison system, or like I said, we going to their funerals or wakes. But yeah, it's pretty much inspired by me and Terrence just sitting down talking about a lot of the things that's going on with our young men in society.
And I want to make sure that I make a correction. It's Taryn
Terrence,
Coleman.
yes.
I want to make sure that I make a correction on that. Dr. Felton, I can't thank you enough for allowing me to have a perspective in the project. And as I looked at the book, I'm just going to share a little bit with the audience, and just a little excerpt of your book, and I said believing that athletics was a catalyst for young African American boys to fulfill their dreams of matriculating to a bachelor's degree and to participate in the sport they knew and loved. The relationships with these young student athletes did not come without its challenges. There were academic struggles for some, while some had issues with socialization and the freedom of being away from home. All in all, in the process of growing and learning amid those challenges, the foundation of their passport to manhood was established. And Dr. Felton, I just, when you asked me to put it together, right? I've been a director of the Don Moyer Boys and Girls Club. You work uh, religiously with the Boys and Girls Club there in St. Louis. They had a program called Passport to Manhood that I ran long time ago, and I'm sure that if you were there, you probably ran that same program, and that is exactly what you were talking about in your book. That's it. You were talking about a passport for these young boys to go from their childhood to their young adulthood to manhood, right? And that they matter all along the way. So I applaud you. I applaud you, bro, because are you are allowing the ones that are coming behind you to stand on your shoulders, and that means a lot. How has the book been received thus far?
I think it's been received pretty well. Like I said, the goal was to, make it short, make it an easy read. Like I said, it's only 5 chapters, with chapter 5 being probably the longest chapter. God kind of gave me that perspective to have Black perspectives from different areas. So, of course,
Absolutely.
yourself wrote about being a Black athletic director. So I had a couple of former players that play for me actually write on what it means to be a Black boy in this society. Have Black parents, Black social workers, Black counselors, Black principal, Black barbers, Black entrepreneurs, Black coaches. So I'll try to cover every aspect and get their perspectives, because I thought that was important. So, like the first 4 chapters, where you're dealing with the overview, you're dealing with education, you're dealing with the juvenile justice system, and you're dealing with the absence of fathers. All those 4 chapters are just as important, but I thought those perspectives from different Black professionals to bring out their view. In the Black parent section, I had uh, a young man that actually, like I said, graduated with me from high school, that actually lost a son due to an illness. I had another young lady that I worked with her husband uh, write her story about losing a son through a gun violence. Another parent working with her 2 sons just as a single mom and raising them. So I was trying to bring out every different perspective
Within our
that people
community.
can
Yep.
relate to, yeah, in our community, that can actually help them, like I said, succeed as young Black men in society.
Absolutely. And you're doing it. And you have a new project that's coming up as well. Can you talk briefly a little bit about that before we close?
Yeah, like I said, me and my wife, Athena, like I said, she'll be receiving her doctorate degree in May. So we'll have 2 doctors in the house.
Absolutely.
And we've been working on a project um, called the Marriage Game Plan. And the Marriage Game Plan is basically giving you a guide and a plan for those that choose to be married, or those that are married, or those that are looking to be married, those that are single, to kind of give you a game plan and a guide um, on what it is to be married. Like you mentioned earlier, like I said, me and my wife, we go out on dates, we keep the romance together. Like I said, we coming up on 30 years this July of being married. So we put together, like I said, or putting together a book that we're finishing up, where we think that could help not singles, as well as young married couples, older married couples. We just kind of share our journey, and kind of like a memoir, and give some more great nuggets and ideas on what it takes to be married. So that should be coming out in July. My goal is to drop it July 11th, 2024, which would be our 30th anniversary date. Is the goal for that project.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, you'll have two quality individuals in the scholarly program doing things. And we know that Ms. Athena is doing things right now without the PhD, and she's a remarkable, remarkable young woman. Um, Dr. Felton, the last thing that I'm gonna ask you and talk about is faith, and you mentioned it several times while you were talking through. God inspired you to write all of your books has been God inspired. Um, what does faith or spiritualness mean to you and your family?
Uh, it's everything. Like I said, I talk with people all the time and tell them to say, hey, if you think you're doing anything by yourself, you're mistaken. Because, like I said, without God even breathing into you, you can't even wake up in the morning. So we shouldn't take for granted that the fact that um, we doing anything by ourselves, any gifts or any talents that we have amongst ourselves. Like I said, that's pretty much what's given to us from God. My faith, like I said, basically started with my parents. Like I said, they train us up in the way they should go. And we got old, we didn't depart from it. Even though, like I said, we had our times where you may stray away. But like I said, we never lost that foundation, and that foundation, core values within believing in Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior has, propelled me to where I'm at today. Anything I've done, whether it's career wise, education wise, um, helping others, working, mentoring, youth, student athletes, anything I do is pretty much the foundation behind it is Christ. And like I said, I can't do nothing without Christ. Like I said, I know everyone is not like I said, a believer in Christ. We have other people with different other religious preferences or backgrounds. And like I said, but for me, like I said, my foundation started with my parents, Mickey and Willie. And like I said, they laid the foundation for me and my sisters. And like I said, we took that foundation and we transferred that over to our own children, and our children transferred it over to their children, which is, like I said, our grandchildren.
Absolutely. And thank you for that, Dr. Felton. I appreciate that. And Dr. Felton, if they want to, if our viewers want to get in contact with you, how can they do that? Can they do that through email, or how can they get in contact with you, Doctor?
Yeah, my email is tfelton63@gmail.com. I did get my phone number, but they can also reach me via phone number. That's 314-445-9730.
Okay. Hey, Tim, I appreciate you, man. I do so much, and love you, and love Miss Athena, and everything that you all are doing, man. And I can't wait till we all get to slow down a little bit in the later in the spring. Get through those commencements and things like that we have to do, and so that we can get this our venture off the ground, Kings of Sports, because it's important, and I think we'll have a great time, a lot of fun, going around the country talking to people and giving individuals our perspectives. Bodine Sanders, Dr. AJ Anderson, Dr. Timothy Felton, and Dr. Cedric Brown going around and giving young people and their parents the opportunity to hear and have a voice and things like that. So I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for being on the show.
No, I appreciate the opportunity. Like I said, every time you reach out, like I said, I'm willing to actually share my experiences. Because, like I said, it's just not only for me, but it's for those that, like I said, I work with young men and young women um, in today's society. Like I said, all my goals, even going back getting a doctorate degree, it was a goal for me, but it was to go back to show those young men and women that went through the process that I went through, only scoring a 13 on the ACT, almost being ineligible in football, only being a C student from elementary till I got to graduate school. So it's all for, like I said, not for me totally, but like I said, it's to share my experiences with those that are, like I said, that I'm working with and those that are coming behind me.
Absolutely. And let's get on Amazon and let's go get this book for Dr. Felton, Black Boys Matter. Let's go get the book. Also, my book is there as well. How Black Men Overcome Racial Barriers in the Status Quo and NCAA Institutions. A narrative inquiry also on Amazon.com. And actually, I became an author because of Dr. Felton. He helped me with that. So he's a man of many talents. But thank you, Dr. Felton. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
And as I close the show, I want to talk to you a little bit briefly about entrepreneurialism, right? Working with the young man that was just on our show, Dr. Felton, is both not only a scholar, like as you saw before, a husband, a father, mentor, but he's also an entrepreneur, right? And following in his footsteps, I started written the one book that I just mentioned, writing other books, but also started a brand, my favorite brand, and that brand was started because I wanted to find something that was faith based that I could share with everyone. And the number 8 in biblical meanings is new hope and new beginnings. So I have things out that are coming out, as you see on the screen, blessed and highly favored, things like that. We have things like keep calm, your favorite, and they'll keep showing them, favored by God, and more other fantastic graphic, artistic type of things that are faith based, and we just love to share that with you. I love to share what God has given me. You can see those more of those on Instagram, favored brand on Instagram, and then the favored website will launch mid-March of this month, and you'll be able to go on there and look at the things that we have on the website, and you'll be able to purchase those things. But other than that, I thank each and every one of you for watching from the 80s view. I hope that we're giving you something that is meaningful for you, that is thoughtful, that can help you throughout the experiences that you're going through. I thank you again. You're watching from the 80s view. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. Good night and God bless.